Hey everybody, welcome to the show. You know where you are, the 9 at 9 with me, Tigo. And you know if you're watching now what time of the month it is. That's right, Cecil Harris is here, our sports media expert. This man has been in this business long enough to exactly tell us exactly how to do this thing. So if you've been wondering, I want to publish a sports book or I want to publish a book, you know, we've had all kinds of authors, all kinds of publishers, but nobody's talked about it from a sports side. Today, we're going to do that. So sit right there. We'll be right back.
Expert Talk is sponsored by Pod Nation TV, the podcast to broadcast network.
Yep, you heard me right. We're going to talk about publishing, especially if you're in the industry of sports and you want to know how to get your book out. I'm going to ask Cecil just that. Hey, Cecil, are you here?
I'm right here, Tigo.
Woo, let's talk about this now. You're an author. You've got, I believe, 4 books out.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about how do you get into this arena of publishing a book, especially when you're talking about sports?
Well, the great thing is that there's not just one way to go about it. If you're basically writing a fictional book, they'll ask you, the publishers will ask you to write the book first and then submit the manuscript. But with nonfiction, if you have a strong enough book proposal, they'll ask you for one sample chapter, a summation of each additional chapter, and just basically a bio. Who are you? What have you done? And that's how you get going. I've published 4 books for 4 different publishers because I'm still looking through the industry. I'm still examining how to go about it. My second book, the one on baseball, Call the Yankees My Daddy, was originally self-published. But I was with a company that self-publishes your book, but they had no ability to get it into Barnes & Noble. So I then went to a mainstream publisher. They took it over. It was Lions Press. And they got it into all the major bookstores. So that's the one potential drawback with self-publishing, Tigo. Not all major bookstores will carry your book. But if you're with, let's say, a university press or one of the bigger publishing houses, you can get your book into the stores and they'll help you promote it. But the trick is you have to do a lot of the promotion yourself nowadays. And use social media and continue to tell people, you know, that the book is out there. And frankly, that's something I need to do a better job of, letting people know that the books are out there because the publishing houses don't quite have the marketing budgets that they used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about somebody that is out there right now that's going, man, you know, they've been a sports fan. I'm from Chicago, so let's just use the Chicago Bulls as an example. They've been season ticket holders. They've been to games for the last 20 years. They've met players. They've got one heck of a story they want to tell. They don't know how to write. So they're thinking about doing a ghostwriter. How do you feel about ghostwriters?
I think ghostwriters do a valuable service. There's a company here in the New York area I am called Gotham Ghostwriters. And you can find a ghostwriter who specializes in sports books or specializes in political books, business books. So you just match what you know with what they can do for you. And many fine books are ghost written. And you know, there's no stigma around it. Basically, you're the expert, you find the writer, you marry the two, you basically work out your own contract with the ghostwriter. That's basically how it goes. And you take it from there. And that's a great way to get your work out there. If you say I'm not a writer or I don't like the process of writing, a lot of ghostwriters are available to do it for you.
Now, what about a coach? You know, someone who's an amazing coach and they want to put out a basic guide to baseball or, you know, an advanced guide to take your game to the next level in in basketball or tennis, would they take the same road to get that published, or is that more self-publishing?
Well, that could be more of a self-publishing venture, but if you find a ghostwriter who's willing to work with you on that project, that could be done as well. Sometimes you can contact a publisher of sports books. Like I'll throw one out there, Roman and Littlefield. They do a lot of sports books. If you go on
Oh,
their
wow.
website, they will tell you what kinds of proposals they're looking for. And you can send in a proposal, basically who you are, why you're qualified to write this book. Here's a sample chapter. Here's a summary of all the other chapters. And if they like it, and I'm just mentioning them as one example, there are other publishers of sports books out there, but it doesn't necessarily have to be self-published. But of course, if you self-publish it, you've got control. But then there's that tricky issue of promoting it, getting it
Right.
out there to the bookstores in the mall, the bookstores in the airport. That's a trickier thing with a self-published book.
Yeah, one of my mentors said this in a meeting the other day. He said, you can have the best looking dress, but if you have no place to go, then who cares? And
Yeah,
that pretty
right.
much, applies
Yeah.
to anything. It's like you can have the most beautiful written, just amazing story, whether it's sports
Yeah.
or a nonfiction, fiction. But if you don't have a way to connect it with an audience, then it pretty much becomes a paperweight. Wouldn't you think?
That's true. You're absolutely right. And you mentioned the Chicago Bulls. Perhaps you could approach, let's say that whoever wanted to write the Chicago Bulls book could approach the Chicago Bulls. Would you sponsor this book for me? It's on the history of the team,
Wow.
and they would want that positive publicity. Here's someone who is a fan of our team and has followed us for many years and wants to write based on his or her history of following the team. Maybe the team will sponsor the book. Maybe a league, if it's a football book, maybe the National Football League might have interest. Maybe the NBA might have an interest. The National Hockey League. You can approach a team or a league to see if
Wow.
they would be willing to sponsor it. And by sponsoring it, they'll help you market it. They'll help you promote it to all the fans of that team or that league.
Wow. Okay, so if you guys are listening to this, that was a multi-million dollar nugget this man just gave you. That's a multi-million dollar nugget that he didn't have to give away, that he didn't have to share. If you missed it, rewind and watch it again. Because most of us, including myself, and I've been in media for 20 years, never think, go approach the team or go approach the NFL or the NBA and say, look, I want to do this project, this positive book on the history of the NBA, and get them as a sponsor going out the door.
Mhm.
Sir, I want to take I'm going to bow down to you because that was absolutely just priceless what you just told right there.
Well,
Absolutely
thank you.
priceless. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're
So
welcome.
if you were starting today, because you've been in this industry for a minute or two, if you were starting today,
Mhm.
would you start as an intern yourself, or would you write a project or so approach an industry and say, look, I want to do a book on, the Cleveland Cavaliers or, the Boston Celtics. Would you approach them that way? How would you do it yourself?
That's an interesting question. I think I'd start blogging first, and so I could have writing samples to show them. This is how I write. This is what I have to say about the team. This is what my thought process is, and hopefully that will get them interested. And then you let them know, I want to expand this into a book, and so they can see that you're passionate about the team, you're knowledgeable about the sport, you're a good writer, and basically that will help enhance you because that adds to your platform.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you're doing a blog, if you're doing a podcast, you have readers, you have listeners. That's your platform. And that will it should impress a team or a league enough to want to, say, partner with you on this book. And then because it's connected to a team or a league, then it's easier to find a publisher.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say to you, sir, what is your last book that you have out? Because you have several. And how do they find your book?
Well, my most recent book is Different Strokes, Serena, Venus, and the Unfinished Black Tennis Revolution. It's a history of blacks in tennis, but I also delve into the career and the legacy of the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena, as well as the first black major tennis champion, Althea Gibson, the second Black major
Wow.
tennis champion, Arthur Ashe. The book's available, Amazon, major bookstores, wherever books are sold. People can find Different Strokes.
I thank you so much for hanging out with us these last 3 months. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it's over already. I hope you'll come back and do this again because, you know, I love you and I love sports, and you two together, we got to talk some more, man. We got to talk some more.
I would love it, Tigo. Absolutely.
All right, you guys, you know how to do this. You go to Go Direct, you type in Cecil, you type in sports, you type in media, and he will come up if you're trying to reach this man and ask him questions. He's great. I met him through a friend of a friend, and every time I call, he's like, if I can be there, I'll be there. There's not a whole lot of people at his level that you can just call on like that. I'm just going to put it out there and let you know. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I sure hope you'll be back next time. And as always, I'm Tigo. I'll talk to you next time. Have a good day.